Hi, welcome to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. I'm Buffy, and I'm a women's lifestyle creator on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And you can find me under the same username. I also am wonder.woman.warrior.00 on another Instagram space if you're interested in that. I am a women's lifestyle creator in the areas of relationships such as marriage and family, as well as health and fitness, as well as home, beauty, self-improvement, self-empowerment. My ultimate goal is to help women level up because I like to arm people with information and for them to decide what works for them, what doesn't work for them, and then to allow them to level up and live the life that they want to live. That's enjoyable, that is productive, that helps them find their purpose, find the goals that they want to accomplish. That is my ultimate goal there. And I would also really like to create a circle of women who are like-minded and who are interested in leveling up and growth, as well as, just kind of being a voice, a sounding board. And if you have any ideas for topics, feel free to shoot me a message. I'm definitely open to that. I have about 18 episodes currently there. My first one was on intuitive eating. And I try to do topics that women are actually interested in. Not topics that I'm interested in all the time, but topics that are universal for women and that they would be able to level up and get use out of. So be honest. How does the voice in your head sound? Like a critic instead of a cheerleader? Maybe it calls you lazy when you rest or replay mistakes on loop. Today we're learning how to quiet that critic and build a self-compassion practice that actually changes your brain. Grab a journal, a cup of tea, and let's begin this journey from self-criticism to self-kindness, which can be easier said than done, right? I will admit that mine is a critic. However, after doing Whole30, a lot of that somewhat went away. I don't have a running play-by-play like I used to have. So I don't know if some of that was just from some of the processed foods that I was eating or what, or if I just got lucky and got it to go away in some ways. But I totally relate with this and I totally understand it like I know most of you do. So let's talk about the nature of self-criticism, the origins and the conditioning. Oftentimes, this conditioning happens from early feedback from adults that we trust and that we look up to and that have influence in our lives. It could be parents, it could be teachers, it could be your peers. Let me give you an example. I literally had not worn shorts for 20 to 30 years. And the reason I didn't wear shorts is because one time I wore a romper and it showed my legs and I had someone say, "You have fat legs," right? So I internalized that. And someone who was very close to me said, "Well, who was the person that said that about you?" And I was like, I don't know. I don't see a face of the person. I don't remember the name of the person. And the person immediately shot back in an encouraging tone. "So you based 20 to 30 years of your life on someone that you don't even remember who they were. Doesn't that sound crazy to you?" And honestly, when I put on shorts after that incident, that episode, I realized no one was looking at me strangely. No one was like, "Why are you wearing those? Why do we base our lives on one little quip from someone who is a negative person, who doesn't really have a place in our life, who we're not close to, but we let it get to the heart of us. And then we continue playing that loop in our heads over and over and over and over again. And we're giving that person who we may not even know their name, we may not even know what they look like anymore, we are giving them a rent-free space in our heads. Why, right? And then we become the critic when we don't have a critic. How crazy is that? And also, there's a lot of cultural messages that equate self-worth with productivity or appearance, right? Strong women work hard, they're always working, they're always doing, strong women are thin and they're healthy and they're beautiful and they have perfect teeth and perfect hair and they're always dressed nice. Those things are bunk. We don't have to buy into them unless we choose to. And that is where choice comes in. Also, the brain ultimately has a negativity bias. It's like our minds cling more to criticism more than praise. And it's almost like we think that, if the person that's criticizing us is taking time to actually tell us what's wrong with us, we should try to improve. Because we desire approval. We all desire approval, whether or not we acknowledge that or not. Whether we've experienced trauma and it comes from our parents, or whether we actually want people to like us. And guess what? You could be a size 00 or 000 or whatever zero you want to be. But ultimately, people are going to like you or not like you. And oftentimes it has nothing to do with you, and it has a lot more to do with them. And so trying to earn others' approval is a waste of time for all of us. And I'm not saying that I haven't done it, because I have. And that's when I finally realized, I'm like, I don't even want to be friends with these people. Like, they're not very nice. They bully other people. You know, they're mean. I don't want to be with mean people. And here's what you can get from me. I'm an honest person. I'm a sincere person. And I want to collaborate and have conversations, meaningful conversations, in a non-judgmental fashion, right? We all have our opinions. We may not always agree, but just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean that you hate them, right? So that's just who I am. I will respect all opinions and ideas, and actually take ideas from other people if they fit, you know, kind of where I'm at. And so there's also, think about the brief reflection pause. Notice a recent self-critical thought. Where did it come from? And that's what got me on the idea of realizing that the shorts comment was ridiculous, and it had been living with me for longer than it should have. It should have been an immediately dismissed thought. But growing up, I was teased a lot for certain things, and that was one of the things that I was teased for. And it led to unrealistic expectations. It led to a lot of self-doubt. It led to a lot of hurt and shame, and just not feeling good about myself, you know? And I think a lot of people tear down other people because they themselves, they have issues with who they are. So they want to tear other people down. So what are the real costs of a self-critical mindset? You may think, doesn't affect anybody but me. I'm not bullying anybody. I'm not being mean to other people. I'm being mean to myself. It can cause chronic stress and elevated cortisol. Cortisol increases your stress levels. It increases your cravings. It increases your mood. It increases a lot of negative consequences for you. Also, increased anxiety, perfectionism, and burnout. And honestly, burnout can be extremely difficult to manage and to handle and to overcome, especially when you're the type of person who continues running yourselves into the ground because you want that achievement, you want that encouragement, you want the idea of the rush of it all. And honestly, contrary to belief, driving yourself to exhaustion is not doing you any favors. If you're a person that likes to be motivated and getting things accomplished, pushing yourself to the point of burnout actually lowers motivation over time. Because ultimately, it's like, what am I doing this for? I'm doing this so I'm going to be exhausted. I'm doing this so I'm continually running on the treadmill, never getting things done, always having an endless to-do list. Don't those sound like great motivators to keep pushing yourself into exhaustion and eventually burnout? Absolutely not. So let's talk about what self-compassion really is. Let's talk about the misconceptions that people think self-compassion is. It's not self-pity. It's not letting yourself off the hook. It's an evidence-based way to boost your resilience, which means your mental toughness. So Kristen Neff's research has shown that self-compassion activates the brain's care system, oxytocin and endorphins, meaning the feel-good stuff that we like to feel sometimes, right? And also, let's talk about neuroplasticity, which repeated kind thoughts create stronger calm response pathways. So it essentially is almost regenerating pathways in your brain, because ultimately your brain is geared toward negativity. It's also geared to the chosen, the path, the reliable path that you use. And if you're a person that is more self-critical with yourself, you have a well-traveled path of self-negativity, whether it's from trauma, whether it's from low self-confidence based on what others have put on you that didn't belong to you, then that can lead to that. But the positive thoughts continue to generate more mileage, right? So you can create those pathways in your brain where instead of going the path to the left or the right, which is negative, the other path to the left that's more positive can grow stronger and build its own muscle, so to speak. That's kind of a generalization. So let's talk about guided imagery. I invite you to picture your best friend right now. Now speak to yourself with the same tone. Would you tell your best friend that they just need to get over their tiredness and push through because they are lazy and that they are unworthy if they do not do what they should be doing? You would absolutely not talk to your best friend that way, right? Or you guys probably wouldn't be best friends anymore. I mean, who would want to be a friend with someone who is constantly putting them down? But yet you have that inner voice, and I sometimes have that inner voice too, who is constantly telling me that I'm not good enough. Shouldn't I just kick them out of my head? Absolutely. So let's talk about core practices that can actually help rewire your inner voice. So name the critic. Give it a nickname or a character. The drill sergeant, perfection Polly. And this separation reduces its power because it's not part of you. It's a separate part of you. I remember several years ago, I called my person she or her. She didn't even have a name. She was just a person in my life that was making things harder and more difficult for me. And I did not want to dignify her with a name other than she or her. And so it reduces its power. Also, mantras and affirmations are also key. For example, you could use the I am learning, not failing. I give myself the patience I offer others. Mistakes are proof of growth. All of these are true, right? And they take away some of the sting. Yes, it hurts to mess up. For instance, I messed up this weekend. I confused two things that I shouldn't have done, and I did, and I felt physical pain from it. And it was really difficult, and it just, every time I thought about it, I felt somatic pain, like in my chest and my gut. And I was finally like, okay, got to take a deep breath, got to get through this. It did take me about a day to kind of process it and give myself some grace, but that's what we all need to do sometimes. And so also think about taking slow, deep breaths. You can do the box breathing, which is the 1 to 4. That's options. There's various other ways to kind of calm your breath, slow your breath. And you can also use that with mantras and affirmations as well, if that helps. Another thing is journaling prompts are also really effective, kind of writing things down and getting it all out on paper, and there it is. If my best friend were in this situation, what would I say to her? 3 ways I showed up for myself today are, and also encourage a 2-minute silent journaling break where you can do kind of automatic writing if you need to, because sometimes that helps you get what's in your brain just down on paper. And also you can pause and decide to write later. That's ultimately your choice. So another thing is you can place a hand over your heart and breathe. And it's almost like you're making yourself present for yourself. And you say silently, this is a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of life. May I be kind to myself. So then you can feel that you're actually honoring yourself, you're honoring your feelings, and you're not in the judgment. Now let's talk about how to integrate this into the everyday. You can do gratitude check-ins morning and night. You can pair affirmations with routine actions while brushing your teeth or waiting for coffee. That's a lot about habit stacking. If you've checked out the Atomic Habits, that is, pick a habit that you're going to do anyway, brush your teeth, pair it with something else that you need to do, and that's how you can kind of habit stack. Also, we need to understand that self-compassion improves communication and creativity. So there are a lot of benefits over perfectionism that self-compassion has. And you deserve self-compassion by nature of being a human being, by being a person that's worthy, a person worthy of love. You deserve that no matter what. And also, modeling kind self-talk improves kids' resilience. And I used to have an issue where I would literally blatantly say bad things about myself. But since I've had kids, I was like, nope, that's a bridge that I'm not going to cross. And I have tried to keep my thoughts up here so that I don't influence them and teach them a bad habit that will ultimately potentially could be a lifelong habit. And also celebrate small wins. Small wins are still wins, whether they're small, whether they're large, what they are. Celebrate life, right? That's what life's meant, to be lived, to be loved, to be enjoyed. So I would invite you to think of one kind thought you offered yourself today. Self-compassion isn't a switch you flip, it's a practice. Each gentle thought is a vote for a kinder inner world. The critic may still visit, but you now have tools to greet it with understanding and choose a softer voice. Remember, you deserve the same compassion you give so freely to others. Your inner voice can be your greatest ally. Shift from self-criticism to self-compassion with science-backed practices that rewire the brain for calm and confidence. Try one journaling prompt or mantra from today's episode and share your experience with me at recovering_perfectionist_mama on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok. And tag a friend who's ready to quiet their inner critic and choose kindness. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon. Bye-bye.